And I'm just really worried about this scene ruining everything for me because I really love those films. So I'm scared. Hello, hello. I am almost finished reading it and I wanted to do a book review video. My plan is I'll do a book review and then I want to do a comparison to the films because I actually watched the films first and I really love those films. They're some of my favourite films ever. I have less than 100 pages left. It's taken me almost 2 months, maybe longer. So I'm gonna document it. Also, I burnt my face. I don't know how. I think I put cream on because I've been given this prescription for like acne and she was like, if it burns it's normal, but if it carries on burning, wash it off or something like that. And I was like, okay, it's kind of burning, but it was fine. And now my face is just burnt. So anyway, just ignore that. I've decided I'm gonna do my overview of what I thought about reading it, and then I'm gonna go and show you the clips of when I was reading like the last 100 pages because I went a bit crazy. So we're gonna start with a review of the book. Disclaimer, these are just my opinions, okay? They're just my opinions. Okay, right. Literally just finished it like 5 minutes ago. This is how long it is. There was 1067 pages. Oh my god, what am I talking about? 1067 pages, and this is how small the writing is. Like, it's a long read. It's been a long haul. Okay, the first thing I want to say is I really loved this book. I think it is written so well. I mean, it's no surprise, is it? It's Stephen King. Like, we're not surprised that he's a good writer. He's so famous. But I just think, like, his world building is incredible. His character building is incredible. Like, every character is so unique and distinctive and has their own voice. And the way that he just makes every single character important and, like, fleshed out and deep and real. Like, even the side characters, if any side character comes into it, like, everything that he comes up with, everyone and everything in the book is really fleshed out. No one in this book and nothing in this book feels 2D. I just think that he's really clever. The way that he weaves it all together, like the way that it flicks between the past and the future and how it all like interweaves, especially towards the end when it gets towards when they actually go into the sewers and confront it, the way that it switches and weaves all together, like, it's just so clever. I just have no idea how you would write anything like this. And the language is beautiful, and I did just really get very invested in these characters, and I still love them. But despite the scene in the last few pages, I still love these characters. And something I really like is, because I watched the films first, a lot of things in the films didn't really make sense to me because there was no context to them and they felt really like thrown in there, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, the characters of Mike and Stan in the films, because I didn't know anything about the story, those two characters felt really flat and like thrown in there, and I was like, I don't know what these two characters are adding to the story. Like, they're just kind of there, they don't do a lot. And I didn't really like either of those characters in the films. But having read the book, I really like Stan and I really like Mike. Like, they're all really good characters. And so I'm really excited to rewatch the films with this new context, which is also something else I really like about reading the books, is that you just get so much more. You get what the characters are thinking, you get behind their emotions, you get behind their actions. Much more so than you do if you're just watching a film. Like, I know the driving forces behind any of the things that the characters do, or any of the things that the characters are seeing, like any of the things that it turns into. Like, I just really like getting behind the minds of people. One thing I will say, something I really, really struggled with was Beverly's character, okay? I tried so hard to get invested in her character, and I was grasping at the straws that we were being given that were trying to make her into an actual real life seeming woman. She was just very 2D, very flat, very, very objectified. Almost every scene that involved some kind of intimacy involved her. I think you can just tell that Bev is written by a man, if you know what I'm saying. But like, there's this other part of my brain that's thinking like, Stephen King is writing horror. He writes to make you uncomfortable. The entire like goal of the story is to create discomfort and make the reader uncomfortable. And he does that really well by using things like racism and making his characters really racist. Like, other than just like the scary bits and the gory bits and whatever, like, he uses everything to make the reader uncomfortable. I was kind of thinking like, maybe he's just using that mechanism with Beverly's character and trying to make us uncomfortable with the situation with her dad and the situation with her husband and the situation in the sewers. And I was trying to think of it as a writing mechanism, but I just don't understand why it's only used with her, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, she was a very sexualized character, and I just really didn't like that. Because you know when like you read a book and sometimes the writer writes so well in the voice of the characters, you can't tell if what you're reading is the writer's beliefs or if it's the character's beliefs. Because some writers that I've read, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to shade anyone, you know that it's their voices coming through and you know that it's just their beliefs being imposed on the characters. But stories like The Name of the Wind, which is probably one of my favourite books ever, every single little thing that's coming across about the character and the way that the story is being told, because it's being told by the character, and therefore how he views himself and what he thinks of himself. I read reviews where people were saying, I didn't like this book because the main character was so arrogant, he had no flaws, like blah blah, like it wasn't a very well written character. But I'm thinking it's the opposite. It's so well written because the character is arrogant of himself, so he thinks that of himself, so he tells his story with that belief, but we know that that's not what the writer knows about him, because the other characters in the story are proving that that's not true. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to work out if everything in the story is intentionally supposed to make you feel that way, or if it is just Stephen King's, like, I don't know, icky thoughts seeping in about women. Because the repeated description of his female characters breathing and the way that describing their breath quickening had to always involve descriptions of their breasts. Like, can we evolve? So yeah, I struggled with Beverly's character because the characterization made me uncomfortable. But like I said, maybe that was the idea. I don't know. The main problem I had, okay, I know it's set in the 50s, right? Or at least when they're kids, it's set in the 50s, okay? But actually when they're adults, it's in the 80s, I think. The bit that made me really uncomfortable was when there's a scene, it's when we're like being introduced to Beverly's husband, Tom, and then it describes him like punishing her, and it's with intimacy, and he's forcing it on her, but then like she actually is secretly enjoying it. And like I was just like, okay, I was like, I really don't think that that's what any woman would be thinking in this circumstance. And that also made me really angry because it's like, that's not characterization, that's just your fucked up views about some women in this position. Like, oh, women stay with their abusive partners because they secretly enjoy it. Like, can we? No. There is such thing as consensual non-consent or whatever it's called, but like I don't think that it applies in a situation where it is real non-consensual. There's a real situation of non-consent. That's not, I don't think that's enjoyable for anybody. Just saying. My last grapple with this book. Why is it pregnant? If you haven't read the book, this might catch you by surprise. Caught me by surprise. When they go down to find it the second time, so this would have been in It Chapter 2 in the film, they discover that it is actually female and pregnant. Why did we add that into the story? Like, I understand the characters need a reason to return and try to kill it once and for all, but I thought the fact that it was killing kids and they wanted to stop that was probably going to be enough of a reason, but apparently not. That was strange. Okay. And breathe. Let's address the elephant in the room. My elephant in the room. One of the reasons why I really like the It films is because I really ship Richie and Eddie. I really love how the film went down that path of like making it more of a plot point that Richie and Eddie have some feelings for each other. One thing I really love about books is when there is a lot of subtext, but it's very subtle and it's very cleverly written. And I think the subtext of homosexuality in It is so cleverly done because it's never really outrightly spoken about, except for like the scenes with the two gay men when one of them gets killed by It at the carnival, or like the scene with Henry and Patrick. But it is a present topic in the book, but it's only very subtly there that it's present with Richie and Eddie because of the different things that It does. But it's not like screaming in your face like, oh my god, these characters are gay and they don't realise. Like, it's really subtle, and I wouldn't have picked up on it if I hadn't gone into it having watched the films already. It's that subtle, but because it's there and I've seen the films, I was like, oh my god, yeah, this is kind of like saying these characters don't know yet because they're literally 11 years old, but they might be grappling with something, like the fact that the leper was like making suggestions to Eddie, or I can't remember what it was with Richie, but like there's just like a couple things like how Richie's internal monologue is about Beverly in comparison to some of the other boys. Like, I thought there was very subtle difference there, and I'm just really happy that they explored that more in the films and made it more of a prominent relationship with the characters, especially, okay, with Eddie's death. I did speak about that when I was reading it, so I'll probably just leave it for that clip, but it's just also when Richie is resurfacing from the sewers and he says something. Oh no, he does something. He like kicks the door shut as they're leaving It's like lair or whatever, and then Bev's like, why did you do that? And he's like, I don't know. And it literally just says, but he knew perfectly well why he did that, or something like that. Like we don't get told why, it just suggests like he definitely knows why he did that. Maybe read the context of the situation. His friend just died, he's really pissed off, he's crying, blah blah blah, but he's not openly saying what's wrong. I don't know, just like I'm reading into these things and I'm like, they really did like each other, you know? And I think they're really cute together. So I'm really looking forward to watching them in the film. But I really like Stephen King as a writer. I think he's so clever, and as a practicing writer myself, who has a goal for this year to finish my first book, I have learned so much from reading his writing, and like the different clever things that you can do with storytelling, like even just in the way that you structure your work. I really appreciate having read his work, and it makes me want to read more of his books, but I'm very obviously avoiding talking about one thing that happens in the story. Yeah, I filmed my reaction when I was reading that bit, and I feel like I don't need to say any more about that because I want to completely forget what happened. And I think having read that scene, my brain has decided, yeah, it just didn't happen. I left Derry and my memory has been wiped. That didn't happen. Ritual of Chud. I have a feeling this is the one. Also, I just have to say, the scene where they all get into a circle and hold hands and they're like, send Mike our power. That took me out of the story a little bit. I was like, why are they standing in a circle holding hands and being like, send him our power? As someone who practices writing stories in their spare time, ending a story is always really hard. I think it's probably the hardest thing you can do as a writer. This last section just feels very, like, misplaced. He's, like, in this void, and he's having a conversation with it, like some kind of cartoon where they're, like, facing the final boss. Here's a quote. "I am eternal. I am the eater of worlds." That's what it says. And then Bill Denra. "You've had your last meal, sister." Like, what? Sorry, what? Okay. It keeps mentioning the turtle, which is like the opposite to it, which is in the films. So this is a new concept to me. And I'm just imagining this huge turtle as like, if you've ever watched The Neverending Story, I'm imagining it like that huge turtle in that film. Eddie just died. I need to debate about his last words, okay? Because, okay, if he was just saying, "Don't call me Eds, you know I don't like that," like, you know I don't like that. First of all, it wouldn't have emphasised, like, there's something else he had to say before he said anything else. Because that seems, like, more significant than just being like, "Don't call me that." The fact that he then has to, like, think about how he's going to word what he wants to say, and then he just dies before he can say it. Like, you wouldn't have to think about, like, "Oh, I don't like it when you say that." He was going to say, "You know, I love you." Right. That's it.
I have had enough!
You know what? Screw you, Stephen King, for making me having to imagine this shit. They are 11. Oh, I can think of the only way for us to get out of here and the only way to show you that I love you guys. No. The only way? Are you serious? Oh my god. I just think you have to be some kind of sick and twisted to imagine this and then write it, describe it. What is wrong with you? If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me describe the scene to you, okay? This is when they're still 11, still 12, same difference. Children. They think they've just defeated it, okay? And then they're like trying to get out of the sewers. And they're like, "Where are we? What do we do?" And then Beverly's like, "I have an idea." Strips off, and they're all like, "What are you doing?" And then she's like, "Who's first?" And that's where I stopped reading. No. To hope that we could have, you know, a strong, well-written female character as a part of this story, but I'm about to lose it. This is what she's thinking right now as she's holding Eddie's dead body. All of them. I was their first love. Shut the Is this it? Like, trying to drive me insane? Like it tries to drive everyone insane? Is that the goal? Am I a victim of it right now? Is that like a thing? I thought maybe, you know, it would hint at that happened and then we wouldn't get a play-by-play. No, we're getting a play-by-play. While she's doing this, she feels powerful. She feels a sense of triumph rise up strongly within her. It's really icky. This is so icky. If I've lost my mind at the end of this book, then it has won. Okay, we made it through. It's over now. But I just have one thing to say, okay? So they just walk through, like, who knows how many drains. Some of them are full of shit. And then each individual person did that to her, having not washed after that. How is any of them still alive after that? Like, you'd have I don't even know what that would do to you, but it's over now. We're gonna move on. Okay, they're like wrapping up the story now, and Richie says, "Nothing lasts forever." And then Ben says, "Except maybe love." And then Beverly's like, "And desire." Like, except maybe for love. Just leave it there. Okay, another thing I just wanted to say. Obviously, a lot of things in the book are different than the film, for obvious reasons. Like, films just change elements. But I really, really did like the ending of it in the book. In the film, it's completely different. Not completely different, but it's completely different. And I just really liked how he wrote it. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It made me, like, really sad. It doesn't really go into it in the film, but they do all forget each other again. And that's it. And they know that they will, and it's like this really melancholy process that they don't want to forget, but they are, and they know they are. And they don't know what they're forgetting, but they're sad that they're forgetting it. And it's just so raw. It's just so well written. Like, endings usually really disappoint me. I really did like that ending. Also, okay, another thing. I actually really like Henry Bowers as a character. Like, obviously he is an awful person. awful. He is such a complex character. He is so interesting. And every scene that he was in, I was absolutely engaged. I was locked in. Really, really good character. Now, I'm gonna rewatch the films because I love those films, and I'm gonna compare them and come back and add to this review having watched the films. I just really love It Came, and I just wanted to make a video about it. My sister has an Eddie Kazbrak pop vinyl that I gave her, and I want it. I love Eddie. I love Eddie so much. I love Eddie, Team Eddie. I would absolutely recommend this book. I'm gonna give it 4 stars out of 5, just because of that one scene. That's knocked off a whole star. This will probably take you a good few weeks, but I am gonna do another reading video, which is gonna be me going over my reading goals for the year and what books are on my reading list, if you would be interested in more reading videos. This was a pretty dramatic one to start on, to be honest. I had some pretty dramatic reactions. Yeah.